Welcome, Solari here. I hope you guys are doing well tonight. I'm here to do your full moon in Capricorn Tower Astrology Ascension Report. It is just going to 11 o'clock at night my time on Saturday, July the 20th. So we're about 12 hours out of the full moon, which is occurring at the anaretic degree, as it's said in astrology. But for me, that's a degree of Leo, which is very, very significant. We've got a lot of gateway energy happening, and I will get into that shortly. For those of you who are interested, I will be doing my bi-monthly collaboration with Demi Peachel of the Starfire Codes. It will be published tomorrow on Substack, so make sure to join us over there. If you are already subscribed to either my or Demi's Substack, you will receive the link via email, and I will post all that information on the community board. I want to take a moment before I get into this to say thank you to all of you. I already did on my other channel, Solar Speaks, as well as on the various community boards, but this is the first time I've done a video since I put a message up on the community board asking for help of any sort, as I close out a really gnarly karmic chapter that has it came to the head for me on April 8th, and I've been working to close it out entirely. This is something I've been working to do for many years at this point, which is why I do what I do, because the sheer energy work I've had to do to disengage myself from these energies has been unbelievable. And one day I will take the time to speak fully on my own experience and how it is I came to know what it is I know, and to share what I like to consider is wisdom with you guys. So these cycles are complete for me on all planes. The material one is the final one where I need to walk away completely, and so I'm looking to put everything into place for that, so my children and I can move forward in the next month or two. So thank you to those of you who donated. Thank you to those of you who booked services, joined my Substack. Thank you to those of you who lent an ear. I've gotten beautiful voice messages, emails. I've had video calls with clients. The way that you guys have shown up just to show your support in any way you can, even when it's not monetary. And that's not the only thing I was looking for. It was your support that got me through a very intense window this week of an attempted energy harvesting. Let's call it what it is. And it was back in the day, it just wouldn't have played out that way. So I'm so grateful for you guys and your love. And your generosity and your support that you showed me, and I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. So, speaking of energy harvesting, this is a big theme, a big theme, right? Well, it's a big theme in general, but this full moon in Capricorn is closing out a lot of that. There's so much that's happening through this full moon, and I don't even know really where to begin with it. I don't even know where to begin. So let's start with some of the downloads I've been getting. And you know what, let's even backtrack a little bit to some of the planetary energies that we kind of are still swimming in as the sun and the moon, meet at this 29-degree mark later on. So a few days ago, on Tuesday the 16th of July, I believe it was Tuesday, no, it was Monday the 15th of July, we had that beautiful Mars-Uranus conjunction with Algol. Algol is a fixed star in Taurus that sits at 26 degrees, and Mars and Uranus went to Algol's headquarters to have a bit of a chit-chat about what's been going on, and what's to come. And so Mars and Uranus are two of the most revolutionary, rebellious planets. And Mars is all about, and not fully, but one aspect of Mars is it's here to bring boundaries, borders. It's here to enact the aggression that is necessary for justice and for balance to be returned and reinstated. Mars is a warrior. Mars is a protector. Mars is that energy that goes to fight for what is right. That's one of its expression, its evolved expression. You want to be on the side of Mars in a battle. You don't want Mars coming against you in a battle. And for those of you who are walking in divine alignment with your truth, you have the power of Mars fighting for you right now. So that's pretty fucking spectacular. And then you have Uranus, that is one of the co-ruling planets of this new golden age. And Uranus is determined that we do things differently, that we learn from the cycles, that we learn from the mistakes, and we take a leap into the unknown and do things differently to get a better and a higher result, a result that is more reflective of who we are in our cosmic and infinite glory. And so Uranus is that energy that pushes us over the ledge and says, come on, jump, you know you can fly. And when Mars and Uranus come together, it's like, whoosh. And then you have this energy of meeting. Like I said, they were meeting at the 26-degree mark of Taurus, which is that Algol fixed star of Taurus. And Algol is said to be very connected to Medusa, the third eye of Medusa very specifically. And if you know the story of Medusa, then you might be aware that she is a deity that you don't want to fuck with. She's another one that, you know, you want her on your side in a fight. You don't want her coming against you. These very powerful warrior feminine energies that have been raped, pillaged, persecuted, and have risen up to fight for those who've gone through similar things. They are energies you want on your side in the battle if you ever find yourself in a situation where you are persecuted, where you are being devalued, where you are being bullied, where you are being abused, where your boundaries have been being crossed. Medusa is a beautiful energy to have on your side, okay? And Mars, of course, also. So Mars is masculine in nature. Medusa is very connected to the feminine energy, a protector of women and children specifically. And then you have Uranus that's here saying, wake up, it's time to do things fucking differently. Enough of the old stayed energy. It's time to turn this shit up and to bring forth something new. And so we had this combustible spitfire energy is kind of how I was describing it when I was writing about it this week. And, you know, I experienced it in my personal life, and I won't get into my personal chart, but let me just say, a lot of shit was being hit in my personal chart this week. And when things began to transpire for me, it was just like, okay, this makes perfect sense, you know? But for all of us collectively, these energies are here to put an end to these narcissistic bullying dynamics of the old world that were designed to keep the majority of us in cages of fear, living against our divine truth, unable to stand in our power, unable to live peaceably with ourselves, one another, and the earth, while they ran all the way home to the fucking bank with our energy and our destinies. Those feeding banks are closed. And Mars and Uranus and Algol, that conjunction this past Monday was it was bringing forth the fire to let these energies, these entities know that now it's no longer, we're not playing nice anymore. The time for reasoning is over. The time to talk nicely to some people is over. The time to try to get people to reason and to do the right thing when they still want to continue to overstep boundaries and diminish and devalue and bully and not take responsibility for that in any way, shape, or form. The time for that shit is over. And truth be told, we should have never really lived in a time like that, but we all have lessons to learn, including us collectively as a soul group on this planet. And the time for that bullying, narcissistic bullshit that ran the old world has expired, and the energies that are rising in us as individuals and in us as a collective to bring that shit down, it's coming. And there's a lot of anger that's rising right now, a lot of anger that must rise in order for this to shift, because as I was discussing on my other channel, Solara Speaks, and even yesterday I posted on my Substack, I did some slides a couple of years ago speaking about how you utilize the power of anger in accordance with the law of vibration to ascend into a higher vibrational truth. You can use anger in order to do that. Anger is very powerful to help you move out of being a victim into being a victor if you know how to use it wisely. Okay, and this is what we're getting lessons in right now. And so if you've been feeling riled up, if you've been seeing a lot of expressions of anger around, you know that that's why. There's a lot of anger boiling up right now. And yes, you can say it's because of the circumstances we find ourselves in as individuals and in the world, and the dynamics and the violence and all of this and all of that. And yes, this is true, but that's also a reflection of what is necessary in order to bring forth change, because anger will always show us where we have been being treated unfairly or unjustly, where our boundaries have been crossed, where beings have treated us as if we are not worthy of respect. Anger will almost always, when it is like healthy anger, it will always arise because of injustices. Okay, and one of the main signs of the zodiac that help us to come in contact with this is Aries, which is ruled by Mars. And Aries, of course, is the sister sign of Libra. And Libra is here to bring balance, to balance out the scales, right? To help us to come back into full alignment with our mental and our emotional bodies, so we are no longer betraying our hearts through the programs of our minds. That's what Libra energy is here to do. But it's very interesting that Libra's sister energy that supports our ability to rise into balance is Aries. And Aries is the sign of the zodiac that helps us to ascend back into the fullness of our divine mind. And it's also connected to divine anger, righteous rage. Okay, and just so we're completely clear about this, there is nothing wrong with anger. It is a natural emotion. There's no good or bad emotion. And I'll tell you how you can see this, because nature doesn't fucking lie. Humans lie, but nature doesn't. And the fact that we live in a world where forest fires will take out a whole forest in order to start anew. Okay, earthquakes and volcanoes will erupt. These are all natural reflections of that anger energy that comes to destroy when it's time to start anew. So the fact that there's so much anger rising up in our collective stories, in our individual realities, is not a bad thing. It's not something that we need to run away from. It's something we need to run towards, because as we run towards it, we alchemize, we find out why it's actually fucking there, and we use it to our benefit. We are busting out of the old world, busting out of the foundations that supported the old world and its narcissistic, abusive, bullying tactics. And we are able to rise again in our power, our truth, our authority, our sovereignty. Aries energy again. We are able to rise back into our I am truth and our ascended mastery, which is just being reconnected with the fullness of who we are cosmologically. We do that through Aries. Okay, so a lot, and then furthermore, it happened at the 26th degree of Taurus, right? So 26 degrees is let me think about this. It is a degree of Taurus. Astrologically speaking, it's a degree of Taurus. So we had this happening again at a degree of Taurus. What does the sign of Taurus deal with? Taurus deals with, well, for one thing, it deals with our comfort levels, where we become very comfortable in an energy and we need to be pushed out a little bit. And the other sign that deals with our comfort levels is also Cancer, and we're in Cancer season, so a lot of our comfort being shaken a little bit right now. Those areas where we become comfortable in the wrong frequency are the places where we're going to get shook, and that's a good thing. Bring on the fire, bring in the noise, bring in the funk. You feel me? So Taurus deals with that, but Taurus also is very much connected to the integrity of our energy fields and how it connects us to the fullness of our divine resources. Those resources that we were blocked off from through the false matrix so that we could consistently be siphoned and harvested through their soul harvesting agendas and their energy harvesting complexes. Okay, so we are being reconnected to our infinite supply that allows us to walk upon the earth again in the fullness of our cosmological glory. And we do that through the sign of Taurus. Taurus is also one of the ways we connect to the Divine Mother and how she supplies us with our resources, all of the things that we need in order to thrive on this planet as individuals comes through that mother energy of Taurus. And then we're also in Cancer season, which is another emblem of the Divine Mother. And Cancerian energy, coming in. Cancerian energy has to do more with the mother in terms of the foundations that are built off of those resources we get from Taurus. Okay, so very powerful feminine energies right now, roaring mother energies, bear-like energies, roaring and barking at those beings, corporations, groups, systems, traditions that want to keep their children bound out of their truth and therefore cut off from their resources and divinity. Because here's the thing, and they knew this in the false matrix, which is why they fucked with us the way they did, okay? We cannot access the fullness of who we are divinely and therefore our cosmological truth and resources and bring them on the earth plane for as long as we are walking in self-deception. Self-deception is any way we've been programmed against ourselves, our truth, and our divine nature and purpose. And everything in the false matrix was designed to do just that. And everything about this ascension journey has been about us healing ourselves out of those cycles, out of those programs, out of those ways of thinking, feeling, and doing that constantly keep us at odds with self and therefore with one another and the earth. Okay, so we got a lot going on, and then at the same time we've got, this is the second full moon in Cancer season. These are bookending moons, right? So we opened Cancer season, and I think technically tomorrow it's a blue moon, which means that, you know, blue moons, all things are possible in blue moons, but we had at the beginning of Cancer season, we had the full moon happening at the opening degree of both signs, the opening degree of Cancer and Capricorn. And now we have the moon closing out Cancer season with both degrees with both the sun and the moon in the closing degrees of these sister signs. And not for nothing, understand and overstand that cardinal energy always connects us to the foundations and the equalizing energies of the planet. So this is why Aries and Libra connect us to the equinox, Cancer and Capricorn connect us to the solstice. The cardinal cross are the signs that connect us to the equilibrium factors that allow for all things to be in balance within us and on earth. And we see that in the balancing of light and dark and how the sun moves around the globe, how it's demonstrated through solstice and equinox windows. So whenever we are meeting with the sun and the moon in Aries and Libra, Cancer and Capricorn, we are always dealing with something that has to do with the balancing out of duality and the learning how to utilize dual energies that are always two ends of the same spectrum. They're the same energy, just expressed differently. We're always learning about how to wield the power of polarity to bring all things in harmony. And this is what we're doing right now. Many of us, many of you are getting very, very alchemical lessons on anger, on justice, on persecution, on standing up for yourself, on speaking your truth, on understanding and overstanding that you must wield the power of all energies that are at your disposal, that none of them are bad, that none of these emotions that you have been, that flow through you as a human being are bad. Because we need destruction as much as we need creation. There is no creation without destruction, but we must learn to be responsible with that energy to bring destruction to the things that must come down, instead of destroying ourselves foolishly and destroying other beings foolishly and needlessly. So we're here to destroy the energies, and oftentimes when we're here to do that and we rise up in righteous anger, what that does is it pisses off those beings who are still living heavily in ego. It bruises their ego. It doesn't hurt their souls. It liberates their souls if they know how to use that energy. But narcissism is an energy that was designed to be run by other beings, imbalanced egos, to not just wound other people's egos, but to actually kill their spirits. It's not the same thing. I'm going to say that again because this was such a huge thing for me to overcome when I first started to tune into. I'm a scapegoat in my family, so a lot of injustices and a lot of silencing and shaming me out of my truth, a lot of gaslighting, right? So a lot of repressed anger that I couldn't express that would come up at times when I'd been pushed enough, and that's what they like to do, right? Also, they like to poke the bear, and then get mad when the bear acts bear, right? And play the victim. And I was always getting caught in that cycle and then feeling ashamed for the expression of my anger. Not anymore. You fuck with me, you fuck with my boundaries, you try to mess with my mind, gaslight me, play your psychological games on me or my children, you will feel the wrath of my divine mother darkness on your ass, because you will learn not to fuck with me in that way. That is out of order, okay? So, but I had to learn that because for the longest time, I had this whole Christian false light spirituality narrative running through my mind that when they slap you, you give them the other cheek, and when they go low, you go high, and all the other shit that they like to, narcissists specifically, like to teach us in order to continually bully us and get away with shit. Okay? Because that's what it is. Those are all words that most of the time come out of the mouths of narcissists to the abused, to the ones they like to bully, to keep them constantly silenced and feeling bad for rising up and asserting themselves. That's the truth. So I wrestled with that a lot, trying to figure out, how does this make me different? Because if I'm expressing anger like this and I'm causing chaos and conflict by that expression, then I'm hurting people too, right? Okay, maybe. And that's when my guide said, yes, you might be, but what you're doing is you're hurting egos. You're breaking the illusion, and they're pissed off that you're breaking through the illusion when you rise up in anger and you assert yourself properly. Okay? But what they're doing to you is they are constantly trying to kill your spirit and silence you and take you out of your truth. And you are busting their lie. Y'all are not the same. And when they started to show me that there's a difference between killing someone's spirit and denting another person's inflated, oversized, or undernourished ego, depending on how you want to look at it, because it's all ego imbalances, there's a huge difference. A huge fucking difference. Okay, so a lot of learning how to wield the power right now of anger to bust through these foundations, because, and we're coming now to the energies of the chart, this full moon in Capricorn is about completely gutting and deleting the root chakra foundational energies of the old world. Those root foundational energies and templates upon which their bullying, narcissistic, fucked up agendas, structures, and systems were built upon are being cleared out. And along with them are going, for as long as we are open to the deletion, are the relationships, the dynamics, all the ways that we contributed, because we all did, all did, contributed to the energy, all contributed to keeping it alive. We all did it. And we're here now to clear it out. And not for nothing, there's a lot of like clinging, trying to cling still. The ones who haven't learned how to rise back into their own solar energy, don't know how to wield the power of their own emotions to regulate their own nervous systems without playing these fucked up psychological games to steal energy from others. They're struggling right now. And in that, they're looking for supply. They're looking for ways to poke the bear. They're looking for little pieces, little scraps of energy that they can get so that they can go back to feeling like things were before, and therefore continually deluding themselves that things will one day be that way again. No, baby. No, boo-boo. It's not. We ain't going back. We're going forward now. Okay? Because these beings who benefited off of the suffering and the pain and the exploitation of others because they couldn't get it together, their day is over. It's over. Okay? So, this full moon in Capricorn is all about the deleting of those foundations as a new foundational energies simultaneously are being set. So as these old world energies are being given the heave ho and the boot, the new earth energies are rising, and this is what the anchor should be being used for, to help you assert your new position, to hold your new position on the earth planes, because nobody puts baby in the corner. There will be no more telling you to be quiet, to not be yourself, to not express yourself, to not be who it is you came here on these earth planes to be at this time in her story, history, however, their story, however you want to look at it. There will be no more diminishing, devaluing, and dimming because other beings can't handle you in the fullness of your divinity. Okay? Alrighty. So, let's get into breaking this down. The Sun in Cancer at 29 degrees, Moon in Capricorn at 29 degrees. So, that's... You reading? No? That's the Sun card, the Chariot, and 29 degrees of Cancer is the Four of Cups. And 29, again, it's a degree of Leo. You break it down, it's an 11. It's an 11-11 portal. Further exemplified by Venus in Leo at 11 degrees, as well as Neptune retrograding through Pisces at 29 degrees, another 11. Okay, so we've got four planets that when you break down the numerology, well, 2 planets and 2 luminaries, when you break down the numerology, it's 11-11, right? So that first and foremost is like, Nino, Age of Aquarius has arrived, motherfuckers. Age of Aquarius has arrived. Okay, make room. You know that those vehicles that when they reverse, they go beep, beep, beep. That's that energy. It's like the old world, beep, beep, beep. Get out the way. We're moving in now, okay? It's moving day, okay? So that's what it is. Whenever you're dealing with 11, you're always dealing with gates aligning, okay? The true gateway system that these motherfuckers broke down, blocked, and didn't let us access. All of our gateway systems that connect us interdimensionally and cosmologically. This is showing us that these gates are returning under our authority. Okay, so those beings, those of you who've had your tarot astrology done with me, and I've explained to you how this energy flows in your chart if you are connected deeply to the gates or connected deeply to the grid lines, and your energy is here to help us do that too in accordance with the sign that it's showing up in. This is what this is about. This is a realignment of the gates, and it's a realignment right when we're smack in the middle of a huge ass Sirius gateway coming into the brand new galactic year. There's a lot of shit happening invisibly right now. You feel it. I know you feel it. But a lot, like when I say moving day is here, it's here. It's here. So, furthermore, We've got Mars in Gemini at 0 degrees. That's another, that's a portal energy. So when we see 11, we're dealing with gates, aligning with gates. When we're dealing with zeros, we're dealing with portal energies, being taken from one reality into another. And we'll get into that because Mars showing up in Gemini now is all about the fighting for our minds, to get our minds back from the fuckery. We were programmed out of our truth mentally first and primarily. Our emotions just followed the mental programs. But these fuckers who created the false matrix used mental magic to build it and sustain it. That's why they were so obsessed with fucking mind control programming. Everything worked to control our minds. Everything. Everything. Okay? And we have been tearing down those programs and that programming within ourselves. We've been telling one another how to do it. We've been pointing it out. And Mars says, now it's time to tear down the foundations of it, because it functions very powerfully through Gemini, what they did. Because that Gemini gateway, that Gemini portal, that Gemini energy is the sign through which Mercury expresses our ability to connect with all the information of the cosmos. And you can use all the information of the cosmos in any way that you want. You can use it to rise into your truth. You know, the bits that rise into your truth. And you can use knowledge and wisdom nefariously to fuck with other beings. And that's what they did through these Gemini gateways. And that is being shut the fuck down. Okay? Okay. Let's get back into this. Sun, Chariot, 4 of Cups. Okay? So the 4 of Cups. This is, there's so much in this card, so much in the 4 of Cups, right? So traditionally, when you hear other readers talk about it, it's often that cup of ingratitude. You're being given a cup, you don't want the cup, you don't realize the value of the cup. And yes, that's kind of true. But for me, the 4 of Cups is all about dealing with the victim stories. The ways that we've been victimized, what that's produced in us. The 4 of Cups deals with those stories, whether there are victim stories or our joyous ones, that provide the emotional foundation upon which our entire experience is then birthed. So when we move through Cancer, then we move into Leo. And Leo is the domain of the solar plexus and the heart. And the solar plexus is where we store the history of how we've internalized deeply emotional experiences, whether those emotional experiences were joyous or whether they were horrible and humiliating. So the solar plexus is the seat of our joy and our divine purpose, but it's also the seat of our internalized shame. Okay, so Cancer, as we move through the final decan of Cancer, we are being called to confront those areas where we have been rejected, where we're rejecting ourselves, and where we're rejecting the fullness of our own joy because we're still living trapped in victimhood and shame. We're invited to look at those victimhood stories if we're brave enough. We're invited to see our own neediness and where we have avoided it because we thought it was weak, or we've been told it was weak, or we've been shamed out of traveling into that area of self and giving it love and attention and validation. You can't bypass the 4 of Cups. Many people think they have, but you can't. Because if you try to, all you're doing is blocking your own heart. And come Leo season, if we're using this energy properly, then we should have risen into a higher state of clarity within our own heart chakras. And that's important because it's your heart that sends out the signal of what your energy fields hold, that magnetize everything back to you in accordance with that frequency. So if you're still holding on to shame stories because you refuse to confront your own victimhood and the ways you have been victimized and to deal with that shit and to face it head on and to love yourself past it, right? And to give yourself the justice you deserve for the times you weren't heard, for the times your needs went unmet, for the ways those shame stories accumulated because of rejection, abandonment, neglect, bullying, abuse, all those other, things. If you don't take the time to dive in and to be real with how you've been hurt and marred and changed and shifted out of your truth and your frequency by these things, and come to terms with it, then come Leo season, you don't get to fully rise into the clarity and the fullness of your heart. Okay? Because what we deny, what we repress, what we won't visit, what we ignore, what we push down becomes a block. It becomes crystallized in our energy fields, and it becomes a block. And when you're dealing with these Cancerian energies, because a lot of these stories of shame and victimhood actually have their genesis in our primary caregiver relationships. How we connected or didn't connect, how we were validated or invalidated, what that meant for us when we went out into the world as children, and how we were able to connect or not connect with other children, how we were able to thrive or not thrive, how other people treated us based upon how we were able to assert or not assert ourselves. These are all the foundational stories that over time build up to become a collection of our experiences that mold and shape us. And if we don't learn how to go there, then we continue to get stuck and unconsciously produce the same patterns and cycles. And if we don't do it in ourselves, then we do it in our descendants. We pass it on to our children. So Cancer season is very serious about us getting serious, get it? Serious about ourselves, about our truths, without shame, because if you're going to clear the shame out of your solar plexus, you got to be shamelessly diving in and really looking at yourself and the ways you've been hurt, without feeling like you got to rush through it, or like you've got to judge it, or you've got to repress it, or it makes you weak in some way. It doesn't. It takes real strength and balls to face those parts of self that the world has told you are not good enough, So that's what the Four of Cups energy does. And so we have the sun, we have this happening, the sun in Cancer at 29 degrees, the closing degree of this Four of Cups energy. So there's a lot of illumination right now on this energy. And it's making a lot of people uncomfortable as fuck. It's making us all uncomfortable in different ways. But people who can't stand to see other beings in a weakened state because they can't deal with their own weakness, it's really doing a number. And it's actually provoking a lot of them to anger. It's triggering the fuck out of a lot of people. There's so much going on right now, but it's all for our good. We must come back to a place of being fully real with self if we want to create a world that is rooted and grounded in authenticity, if we want to come back to utilizing the fullness and the power of our electromagnetic fields in the ways that they were designed to function divinely, where we are conscious creators and able to wield the power of the all to create and to destroy in accordance with what harmonizes our and the collective reality. We cannot do that until we have fully come to terms with all the full breadth, length, depth, width of our emotional fields and our experiences. It's from your emotions that you birth everything. It's from your unconscious. The more we ignore and repress, the more that thing actually grows and manifests itself in different ways. So there's no escaping it. So either we're going to face it and stop producing cycles of misery, or we're going to continue to ignore it and think we're moving into a new cycle only to repeat the same kind of miserable pattern, just with a different person, different skin suit, different location, or different generation. The moon in Capricorn at 29 degrees. So that's the moon card. Capricorn is the devil. And we have 29 degrees is the Four of Pentacles. So the Four of Pentacles, whenever you're dealing with four, this is interesting because you got in the Tower of 4-4 energy, right? So you're dealing with the Divine Mother. You're dealing with protection, the protection of the Divine Mother. And the 4-4 energy is dealing with foundations. Always to do with the foundational energies. New foundations being set. Happens through the four. And not for nothing, I should just point out that the sun is in Cancer at 29 degrees and 8 minutes. And the moon is in Capricorn at 29 degrees at 8 minutes. So we got more 8-8 energy. 8-8. Okay, so we still, gates are aligning. Gates and gateways are aligning right now through this full moon. Okay, so we know that this is the precursor to the new moon, which is occurring in 2 more weeks on August 4th at 12 degrees, which is another really interesting energy, which we'll get into then, right? But all of this is preparation. We have it showing us there. We have Venus in Leo at 11 degrees as this is happening, a master degree of Leo, 11. 11 is always a master. It connects you to the gates, the gateway system, the keys. Those of you with 11 degrees in your charts tend to be keepers of the keys, or you're connected to gates, gateways. You're here to usher us in past. Like, people come into your energy and they treat you the right way, and they're in alignment frequentially with the right to go to certain places. You give them the keys on their soul journeys. That's why you got to be so careful. You never know who you're fucking with on these here earth planes. We've been taught to look at appearances, qualifications, money, and all this other stuff. And most of the time, those are the people who have nothing cosmologically. Not all the time. And even if they did have something, they've squandered it anyway. And they steal in yours too. Because their battery, their solar power is all the way down because of how much they've sold themselves out. It's a whole other story. But there are people who are the richest beings on this earth plane that are living on the streets homeless. There are people who other people will turn their noses up to because they think they're weak. Because materially they don't have what this world told them they need to have to be successful and to be responsible and all that other shit. And the truth of the matter is that was all an illusion and distractions to begin with. There are bona fide masters that are living on the streets that people walk past and don't give them the time of day. They're the fucking architects of this earth. And beings walk past them like they're a scourge or a stain. This energy right now is undoing that. And the Leo new moon, 12 degrees, the inversion is over. Okay? The illusions are over. The power games and energy harvesting bullshit is over. I get mad when people don't properly value the life of another human being based on stupid, arbitrary shit that doesn't even last and means nothing eternally. Like, who the fuck cares what car you drive, what school you went to, what you know, who you know, where you live, what you've seen? Who gives an actual flying fuck if you don't know how to be a fucking human and care for another person in need? Who actually cares? Anywho. Moon in Capricorn at 29 degrees. Capricorn, the devil card, will always speak about those things that bind us out of balance because we're too much in alignment with the material. And when we are too materially minded, we create the miserable state that promotes things like obsession and addiction, because we are ever trying to find our way, 23, find our way back to some kind of soul satisfaction, not understanding and overstanding that the only way to satisfy your soul is to come back to yourself and to be you. Okay, You can't fuck your way back into soul satisfaction. You can't buy your way into soul satisfaction. You can't eat your way, graduate your way, be clapped up your way. You know, like it's an internal job. And this is why many beings are about to get big fat fucking F's on their report cards. F minuses. I don't even think F minuses exist, but they will for these report cards. And you know why? Because at every turn, these beings are being given the opportunity for redemption, even this late in the game. And they're still choosing to opt out of being human and tuning into the programming that allows for them to tear other beings down and to not tune into the divinity and the true value that makes a being who and what they are, their intrinsic wealth. Not the things of this false matrix, but the things that are eternal, the things that they came onto the earth planes with, and when they leave this body and leave this simulation, they will still have eternally. This is what Yeshua was teaching us. You know, people get afraid of hell. It's not even about hell. Hell is a state of mind. We create our own hell by not climbing and rising into our truth. That's not what it's about. It's always been about your ability to properly appreciate, which means to grow in value yourself and other beings based upon your fucking divine net worth. All of this other stuff was a distraction to see who would fall into the trap of devaluing others in order to advance in this fake Hunger Games. And the report cards are in for those who are still wanting to advance at the detriment of harming other people. It's always been a soul journey. That's where we get the selling, sales, all of it. They tell us what it's about. But we don't think, you know, people think that's too obvious, right? We can't tell you what it's about. Solar power, solar return, you know, solar energy, your soul. It can't be that simple, surely. Laughing at us. Laughing at us because they put it right in our face. And we still don't believe. Okay, anyway. So, the moon. This is also about all the ways that we've been wounded across time, across this false matrix. The moon was utilized and used in all of their energy harvesting to try to keep us stuck in lower frequencies and therefore out of our the fullness of our multidimensional truth. Okay? But it's no longer in that situation anymore. The moon has been recovered and recuperated from that shit. Understand and overstand that every single thing that's connected to this earth plane that we had connection to in the false matrix was under the command of these magicians, energetically speaking, and everything was exploited for its power but used against us. So, for example, Saturn is here to help us to put up the boundaries so we don't go where we're not supposed to go. So we're protected. Okay, we're protected, and we don't advance before we're supposed to advance because we don't have the staying power to go to certain places. Saturn is here to help keep us in frequential alignment in accordance with our true soul lessons and values, so everything can be kept in order and peace. They use that energy because Saturn restricts in order to do that, to restrict us into timelines and realities where we get stuck going around and around in circles and never graduating from the cycle. We're not supposed to stay stuck in the circle. We're supposed to enter the circle, the cycle, go around it and learn the lesson, get to the point of entry, break out of it and go into the next cycle. That's what we're supposed to do. We were constantly stuck going around and around in the same cycle with just scenery changes. So we thought that we were progressing. So This is the energy right here that's speaking about the shadow energies that have kept us bound in addiction in these cycles. They're coming up more for us to see. They're coming up for us to see in ourselves. They're coming up for us to see in others. Capricorn and its shadow energy deals with things like greed. It deals with things like our obsession with the material, our obsession with work, our obsession with getting ahead, our obsession in general, our obsession with order, our obsession with appearing right, our obsession with being acclaimed. Those are all Capricorn shadow energies. Okay? It's nothing wrong with wanting to be recognized in your power and your beauty and your progress. Nothing wrong with that, but when you become obsessed with it to the point where you will harm yourself and harm others, that's the problem. And this is what the false matrix, this Capricornian energy, where we were so obsessed with the material and getting ahead, and the titles and the qualifications and the validation and the money and all the chicks, the of the sex, all of these things, the drugs, the rock and roll. When we get too far into that to the point where we're harming self and others, it becomes an issue. And this moon is dealing with our overindulgences, especially materially speaking, because Capricorn in her beauty and evolved state is actually here to help us to connect with the earth in balanced and healthy ways, where we are here giving of our truth, giving of our power and our gifts in order to sow back into the earth everything she's giving us, to sow into those people we love everything they're giving us, so that we can appreciate one another in value and bring higher levels of peace, harmony, love, and joy to one another, to the earth, and therefore the overall collective frequency. Capricorn is interested in our contracts, period. Whether those contracts are good, or balanced, or whether those contracts are, are things that we do to sell ourselves out and other people too. So when I said at the beginning, energy harvesting is at an all-time high, there's so many reasons for this. For one thing, you're dealing with these old ancestral entities that work through the Cancer-Capricorn axis, because it's all to do with family ancestry, blood ancestry through Cancer, and earth ancestry through Capricorn. And these are the entities that have been connected through bloodlines that have been harming people on the earth planes in order to keep their fake legacies going. So the ones who are still trying to promote these old world agendas are still trying to utilize these energies for sacrificing purposes in order to again take. And some of them do it very consciously, and some of them don't realize that some of the things that they're involved with is what opens up their so-called loved ones. It opens up their bloodline, because that's what the false matrix does. When we make deals and contracts with these corporations that are all under the umbrella of a big one, when we do that, what they're doing is they use those contracts to cosmologically connect with the bloodline in order to begin to harvest and harness. All contracts in the false matrix, especially the ones dealing with, these corporations, especially these banks and institutions, are all connected to the false matrix entities that were responsible for keeping the earth on lock and keeping us stuck in cycles. And they did it by feeding off of our solar energy, which is why it was a soul harvesting operation. So we were all in this together, selling one another out and not even realizing it, selling ourselves out and not even realizing it. And this moon in Capricorn is wanting us to confront within ourselves all the ways we've been compliant, complicit, and all of the woundedness that would make us do that again unconsciously. We're here to really confront the basement of our hearts and our souls, so we will stop betraying ourselves and one another, we will stop living in ways that are inauthentic, that harm ourselves, and therefore perpetuate the bullying, abuse, obsession with materials. All these things are perpetuated only because we move so far away from self in our hearts and our own sense of humanity and decency towards self first. You get what I'm saying? So heavy, heavy themes. We're going to be seeing more and more, not only how we've done this to ourselves, but how we've done it to one another. We're going to see more and more shit in families come up because it's time for these karmic contracts to either close out because beings don't want to see things, or it's time for them to be renegotiated because people have some level of repentance and want to shift into the new energies. But either way, the way things were, it's not going to continue. And the beings who fight the most for it to continue are the ones who are going to drown in these energies because the new world doesn't support them. Mercury in Leo at 26 degrees. 26 is, again, it's a degree of Taurus. Yeah, it's a degree of Taurus. So Mercury is already taking us through, some of the themes that we're going to be dealing with in Leo, some of the things that we need to start already paying our attention to, some of the things that the information's coming through, the divine wants us to know. The golden codes are coming through, okay, because this is just like 3 degrees away from Regulus, so we're quite close. Mercury's talking to us about the impending rise of those who are here to help us come back into alignment with the golden age wisdom from the age of Leo that is needed. Can you turn my coffee off? Sorry. The golden age wisdom from the age of Leo that is needed for us to rise now and to set the new foundations for this new golden age, which is the age of Aquarius. So Mercury is already speaking to us about that, about the value system, about the banking, true banking, the new financial systems that are rooted in frequency, not energy harvesting. Okay, so Mercury is the magician, Leo is the strength card and the sun, the 26 degree mark of Leo is the 7 of Wands. This is speaking about the protections also that are coming through now in order to make this happen. The day for the ability for these beings to do what they used to do, unless we are allowing it to happen, they actually don't have a foot to stand on. And the sooner we rise into that truth and we lose the imputed fear that they try to box us in order to make us believe that they were greater and had more control over us than they actually did and do, the sooner we tear down those fear barriers and frequency fences, the sooner we begin to set up these structures that are real, especially financially, Yeah. So the protections are in place, the protections over your golden frequency, your golden codes, they're in place. 7, that's Saturnian energy order. Yeah, 7 of Wands. 2-6 breaks down to an 8. Okay? There's a lot going on behind the scenes to ensure everything is in place for your arrival. Okay? The 3 Leo cards, minor arcana cards, are the 5, 6, and 7 of Wands. The 5 of Wands is about the conflict that happens around the 6 of Wands because beings don't want to see other people rise back into their cosmological alignment of the heart. That's what the 6 of Wands is. That procession is because they've reconnected with their divine heart. Aries connects us to the divine mind. Leo connects us to the divine heart. Sagittarius gives us the power to walk it out now on earth. Okay, so when we connect with the divine heart, we're able to download. Remember I said they love to block your heart in order that you don't get the fullness of the connection to your cosmological resources. through the 8-8 portal, which is 6 of Wands energy, in accordance with how clear your heart is and how much you're able to ground in your truth and therefore ground these codes into your reality. That's where those energies begin to stream in accordance with where you are frequentially. That's the 6 of Wands. And the 7 of Wands rises up now to protect you. You got your codes, and now the 7 of Wands says, I'm going to protect you. You're going to protect your heart. You're going to protect your value. Mercury is speaking to us now about protecting our true value. Not everyone is going where you're going, for one thing, and not everyone deserves access to you. And not because you're better, but because of who you are frequentially versus who they are frequentially. It's not a better thing, it's a frequency thing. When you're out of alignment with people frequentially, you bring them down into karmic struggle. They bring you down into karmic struggle. It promotes disharmony and discord and dysfunction, delay and blocks. That's what they wanted. That's why they wanted us at war in the false matrix. They wanted us frequentially fucked up and mixed up so that we wouldn't really support one another. And then they taught us how to wear masks and pretend. And this is what this sun in Cancer at 29 and the moon in Capricorn at 29 is forcing us to contend with in ourselves. Where are we pretending? And that is keeping us out of frequential alignment with beings and energies and timelines that are truly harmonious to us in all ways, not just pretension, appearances. Doing the right thing out of duty and being religious about it. We play so many, I just wrote about it on my Substack today, we play so many fucking social games because we have these rejection, abandonment, acceptance wounds that we don't want to own. You know, we fuck around in energy of people we can't stand. We let people who can't stand us fuck around in our energy. Enough. Enough. And not because they're villains and we are angels or we're villains and they're angels, but simply because we're not compatible. Energetically, frequentially, we're not compatible. You put us together, we'll bring one another down. You put salt in a cake, it's going to taste like shit. Doesn't make salt bad, it just means it ain't supposed to be substituted for sugar in a cake. Some of y'all need to get the salt out of your cake batter. Like, fuck that, go find the sugar. Enough. Venus, speaking of sugar, in Leo at 11 degrees, Venus is showing us how to rise back into our golden wisdom so that we can live in beauty. Once again, we deserve to live in beauty. It's your birthright. Remember, Venus is here reminding you it's your birthright to live in beauty. It's your birthright to live in peace. It's your birthright to have foundations that promote your beauty, promote your peace, promote your golden wisdom, promote what it is that you came here to do to harmonize the earth with your presence. It's your fucking birthright. And Venus is here reminding us mastery lessons on alignment with that truth. Mastery lessons on how to get into the gateway procession that takes us into that truth. Aligning us for when the sun enters into Leo and in its newness hits the 12-degree mark and activates the fuck out of where Venus is right now as the moon reaches her fullness in Capricorn. Venus in Leo, I love Venus in Leo. Every year when Venus enters, I am a Leo sun, okay? But every year when Venus enters Leo specifically, it's always so much fun. Maybe not yet this year because we've been, juggling with a Cancer season is always heavy. I'm a Venus in Cancer. I love the Cancerian energy, but it is always a season, especially recently, that's very heavy because of what it's supposed to help us to rise into. So by the time that Leo energy starts to come in, especially, when Venus moves in ahead of it, it starts to bring some of the beauty of play back and the lightness back. And the more that we've done the work in Cancer season, the lighter the energy tends to feel. So this is like the gateway into pleasure. This is the gateway into pleasure, okay? And pleasure that pays. Pleasure that pays, right? I ain't just talking about money, Okay, Mars and Gemini, we already kind of spoke about that. Sorry, I didn't go into this. Venus in Leo, that's the Empress, the Strength card, the Sun card. 11 degrees is the Six of Wands, okay? 11 is also Justice card in the tarot. And not for nothing, if you're dealing with the Crowley version of, is it Crowley or is it, no, it's not Crowley, he's a funny guy. Is it the Thoth Tarot? Maybe it was him that put it together, I don't know. I actually don't have that deck, but I have older tarot decks. I think maybe 2 of them, where the Strength card is the number 11 and the Justice card is the number 8. So some older decks it's flipped around, and I, as a person who, I've developed this way of reading energy through tarot astrology, I've always found it very interesting that when I read a person's chart, that energy is expressed either way. So you got the 11 degree mark, it's going to connect you to the Justice card, and the 11, it's going to connect you in the, when you're dealing with Leo specifically, it's going to connect you with the Leo energy. So 11 degrees of Leo specifically has always been very interesting to me because of the alignment with both Libra and the Justice and the Strength card. Anywho, what's beautiful about this is actually Venus is in Leo at 11 degrees and 58 minutes. So actually she's more at the 12 degree mark than she's truer to 12 than she is to 11, right? So she's showing us that it's a gateway energy, it's a mastery lesson, it's a mastery energy, it's the alignment of gates, but she's also showing us that it's in preparation for the material inversion of the false matrix that's about to start coming through the new moon window. Whew. Mars in Gemini at 0 degrees. Mars, of course, is the Tower. Gemini is the Magician and the Lovers. The 0 degrees is kind of the Ace of Swords, but if you want to look at the strictly Gemini energy, it's the 8 of Swords. These are the mind prisons that we get trapped into by illusion, that is often born of power struggles, abuse, and gaslighting and deception. Okay, because if you look at the swords, every single suit will show you the growing of an energy and how it gets from the ace to the 10. It will take you through a story. And I went through this with you guys last August on Solar Speaks. I explained how the Matrix uses its mind magic and its power games to fuck us over. And I showed it to you through the exploration specifically of the sword suit, which connects us to the mental planes. They fucked with us through swords energy. Okay, and by the time you get to the 8, the 9, and the 10 of swords, mind control conditions have been established based upon authority ploys, programming, mental fuckery, gossiping, backbiting, gaslighting, deception, mind games, basic power struggles that those people who were taught in the Matrix were the elites, used to keep us caged so that they could control and run us. And they exist in every strata of society. I'm not just talking about the so-called 1%. All of the false matrix was based upon bullying and narcissistic structures. It happened in the family. It happened in the educational system. Happened in the home, in the workplace. Happened everywhere. They taught you in school how to pick up golden children and scapegoats. They fed the golden children with affirmations and awards. The ones who were easily programmable were praised with their awards and their recognition, and they went on to go to the higher institutions that did the same until they got into the clubs with those beings and started to run the world. It was all a setup. And then the poor scapegoats, who oftentimes are the ones with the most resources, and they're too smart to be programmed, are made to feel like there's a problem with them in the family, in the school. They get overlooked for their awards because they can't be as easily programmed. And they struggle in life, a lot of them. That golden child, scapegoating, narcissistic structure runs throughout our society to purposely elevate some beings above others based upon their ability to be easily controlled and programmed by the material benefits of this realm. Jupiter in Gemini at 12 degrees. So we've got Jupiter moving through Gemini, 12 degrees. We've got that 12 energy again. Jupiter is the wheel of fortune. This is showing you how shit is turning around, okay? Turning around in accordance with what side you're on in terms of not people, but energy. If you are in alignment with having healed yourself of this mental fuckery and programming and trying to fuck with other people to get ahead, then the Jupiter in Gemini at 12 degrees is here to help liberate you out of the mind control, out of the Nine of Swords. Nine of Swords is about getting more stuck in the mind control to the point where you become fully isolated, or the Nine of Swords is about isolating yourself to free yourself of the programming, depending on who you are and what you're doing with the energy. Because every energy they throw at you can do two things. So when they throw a death spell at you, it can either kill you or it can cause you to rise up like the phoenix. True story. Okay, so 12 degrees, like I said, that is the Nine of Swords. 12 is a degree of Pisces. Okay, degree of Pisces. Yeah, so closing out, 12th house. Getting out of imprisonment, getting out of mind imprisonment, breaking out of the fucking cycle where they literally had your mind, you know, they held your mind in the palm of their hands. That's what it is with the Jupiter. You know, I'm not going to go through everything else. Okay, well maybe I'll. 19 degrees Pisces, Saturn. I'm not going to go through everything. I'm just going to point out some of the things that I'm noticing about the alignments of these energies. 19 is a degree of Libra, astrologically, but again, it's connected to Leo. Leo and Libra have a lot of interconnecting energy. We won't get into it tonight, but they do. Okay, so that 19 degree, it speaks of Libran energy of balancing scales, and the 19 is the Sun card in the tarot, so it speaks about returning back to the wholeness of who you are before you lost all particles of self because you were fragmented through the trauma cycles and loops of the false matrix. So Saturn is here again. Saturn retrograde. Saturn's bringing the receipts. Saturn is slow moving. People will run around and not realize Saturn is watching their asses the whole time. They'll do things and they'll think because nothing happens for a year, 10 years, 50 years, or a lifetime that they've gotten away with something. And then Saturn comes at the end of the age and says, I got the receipts. I've got the records. Okay? It's time for divine justice. That's what Saturn does. You know, and that's not me being funny. This is a good thing because it helps us to be just with ourselves. That's what the true purpose is. It's not for us to sit here and laugh at other people because they're about to get something, because that's not nice either. But the truth of the matter is we've all had the ability to take inventory. Everything's been supporting that. And Saturn comes to whoop that ass when it's out of alignment. Because Saturn is not a hard taskmaster. Saturn wants you to be as committed to your truth and your divine greatness as Saturn is. Saturn is committed to you being great. And being real. And being in order. Arriving where you're supposed to be. And not being in places where you're not supposed to be because you're not a frequential match. Or you haven't graduated from that soul lesson. In the false matrix, they had all of these beings in places they weren't supposed to, based upon programming and based upon their sacrifice systems, where they were using rituals to take from beings the things that they shouldn't have access to because they haven't graduated the soul lessons in order to have proper access. And Saturn said, It's time to put the house back in order. Okay. I think I'm going to end there. The only thing I want to give a shout out to, of course, I want to give a shout out to Lilith. Okay, well, the nodes are at 10 degrees, so that's binary, that's beginning, end, simultaneous, closing and end of a cycle, sweeping out of the old foundation, setting in the new one. That's the 10. That's the 10. And again, Aries and Libra, equinox energies will always speak about the return to balance, the return to sovereignty over self, the return to taking responsibility over self in our dynamics. That's what Aries and Libra is about. Okay, so Chiron is in Aries at 23. That's interesting because 23 is a degree of Aquarius. Okay, so we're learning lessons in the wounding we've had around taking back our authority and taking back our autonomy and our right to be who we are and to think in accordance with who we are, as opposed to the programs and the socialization and the chatter that other beings want to drag us into that is not in alignment with our truth. Okay, Chiron is dealing with those rejection, abandonment wounds where we feel like we got to do things in order to be accepted, fake accepted, and therefore be out of frequential alignment. Chiron's dealing with that. But let's take a quick look at Lilith, because Lilith is another very powerful feminine energy that is here to help us rise out of persecution, rise out of silencing, rise out of injustices, rise out of shame. That's what Lilith is here to do, and she's expressing herself now through Libra. So she's here bringing equilibrium. She's here bringing justice to these persecution stories, much like Medusa was through that Algol conjunction. Okay, 2 degrees is another degree of Taurus. So again, self-value, divine resources, your divine net worth, how you've been robbed of that and your right to shine and be who you are in accordance with the wealth that was assigned you based upon who you are cosmologically, that the earth this world tried to make you forget while it stole it. Lilith is here to help remind you and to help you take it back. Get back your self-esteem. Get back your self-value. Stop betraying and rejecting yourself for other beings. When you are actually, rising and being who the fuck you are, you give other people the choice whether they want to accept you in that place or not. When you're pretending, then you are asking people to love you fakely. You're not showing up real. The more you are able to show up real, the more you weed out the pretenders. And you want that, because we're fucking tired of people wearing masks and personas pretending to love us when really they can't stand our asses or they want to take from us. It's enough of that shit. It's enough. There's someone for everyone. There are people for those people too. There's someone for everyone. That's the truth also. And when you are standing in the way, I said this years ago and people look at me sometimes like I got 5 heads. I don't got 5 heads. I just am a person who's very tuned into both Leo and Aquarian wisdom. That's who I am, written in the stars. But I said it to some people a few years ago. I said, I cannot continue in a relationship with you. This is family now. I cannot continue in good faith in a relationship with you because I'm not equipped to love you any more than you're equipped to love me. So it's actually an act of love for me to walk away so I can find people who actually love and appreciate me, and I get out of the way so that you can do the same. And people look at you and they'll fight you. They can't stand your ass and they'll still fight you and tell you that they love you while they're tearing you down and talking shit. And I'm just shaking my head. It's just like, this ain't love. It's competition, it's envy, it's jealousy, it's bitterness, it's hatred. But it sure ain't love, And even with all of that being said, you still deserve to be loved. I still deserve to be loved. I had a mentor who used to say, the devil deserves love. Satan deserves love. Every single being deserves love because love is what heals. We're not here to love people into healing. That's their fucking job. But we are here to give them, you know, the impetus to go back to opening themselves to avenues where that love can come in organically. You know? And it's a good way to end it, because Capricorn full moon, that's the devil right there. You know? And this is it. Again, we need to learn to love those parts of self that we have shunned, rejected, renounced, shamed, and scapegoated the most. Yes, you've scapegoated yourself. I've scapegoated myself. We've all done it. These things wouldn't exist in such large representations collectively if we weren't doing it to self. We are the projectors internally of the collective story. We have scapegoated ourselves. We have constantly put on the devil what is our responsibility to look at. We have been scapegoated. We have scapegoated. It's time to give everyone back their goats. Okay? It's time for us to take full responsibility, you know, of our own energy, of our own emotions, of our true feelings, of our true thoughts. Not the things that we're not only the things that we want others to think that we think and feel, or even our own egos we want to abate. No, it's time to be so fucking real, because it's only in that way that unconditional love can really return to this planet. There's no returning of real unconditional love in the collective story if we're not unconditionally loving and accepting self. And you can't unconditionally love and accept yourself while you're shunning, shaming, repressing, denying, ignoring any part of your truth. Any part. And that's the truth. Okay, it's 1 hour 20. Oh, it's 0000 on the clock. It's midnight. Thank you for rolling with me. I hope that this Ascension report was helpful and insightful. I know I went off. I like to go off. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about what I've been shown, you know. So I hope that that passion gets it gets delivered to you in a beautiful way, and that it activates you the fuck into your truth too, because into your truth, into your beauty, and higher into yourself, that you become more grounded and protected and secure in yourself, because in that place of security, nothing can touch you. Nothing. And that's part of my mission. So if you'd like to connect with me outside of this channel, and you'd like to join me over on Substack, I do have a summer special going until the 22nd of September where you can join annually at a 33% discounted price, and that price stays locked in for good. Or you can join monthly, and it's 33% off the monthly fee, and that pricing gets locked in for the next year. So please do avail yourself of those deals. I write every single day over on Substack, and sometimes I add in extra things too. What else? If you'd like to book a one-to-one soul recovery, divine alignment, or tarot astrology time with me, you can check out my website, solara.info, and then you can email me for all bookings, please. What else? I do have group sessions coming up. Stay tuned on the community board. I have another midweek group session coming up. I haven't posted it yet, but I will be getting around to doing it by Monday, and I will put the information on the community board. It will be all about alchemizing anger, using it to bust into your next level, okay? Because it's time. It's time. And anger, when we wield it properly, is a beautiful way to liberate ourselves out of the injustices that have been enacted against us, and that we've enacted against ourselves too. Okay, so Wednesday, I will be doing that Wednesday the 24th of July, and it will be happening again at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. UK time. If you want to get into there ahead of time before I put the information up on Monday, just shoot me an email, okay? And we'll talk from there. What else? Yeah, I think that's it. If you'd like to donate to my Ko-Fi or my PayPal, you can do so through the links that I'll also put in the description box and the comment section below. And I'm going to take my ass to bed because I'm tired, and I'm switching from my channeling brain to like my messaging brain. I don't know what you call it at this point. And I'm a little bit frazzled. So I wish you guys all a very happy full moon in Capricorn. I will be back on my other channel, Solara Speaks, very soon. And yes, I love you guys. Happy full moon.